Alright guys, Samsung ice maker problem. If you're watching this video, you know what I'm talking about. Ice builds up around that ice maker. And you can clear it. You can clear that ice around the ice maker and it will start making ice again. If you notice water, dripping down through the dispenser, your ice pretty much melts and it leaks down into that dispenser, leaking through that gasket and everything. And this video is going to cover everything that it takes to actually fix it. They've been dealing with this particular ice maker since 2015. That's around the time that they started making this type, and took them a little bit to figure everything that was wrong with it. I mean, they want us to do a lot to it. One is adjusting the water line that actually comes into the ice maker. You want to make sure it's a certain distance. We're going to cover that. Number two, we're going to cover siliconing the whole icebox area, so we're going to cover that as well. Number three, a new ice maker. They updated the ice maker. There's a little knockout that's in your current ice maker for that water tube that actually comes down. You'll see what I'm talking about, and I'll mention that later as well. New ice maker for that. Some of them need a new control board. Some of them do, some of them don't. Depends on when they were built. If they were built in a certain year, certain month, depending on what model. And yeah, I know that's not going to make much sense to folks. You're like, do I need a control board? Do I not need a control board? Later in the video, whenever I start talking about the control board, I'll get more in depth on who certainly does and who maybe does and who doesn't. I got to look through a little bit of information before we get there, so this video is going to have a lot of information for you. Oh, one other thing, there's these white clips and a diverter that we're going to be putting in too, and yeah, whatever parts I can, I will link in the description below. So if you need that ice maker, go ahead and get that ice maker, or the Y clips, or the silicone. You do want to use food grade silicone, so pick up that as well. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, let me say this. If you have a fridge or a Samsung fridge built in January of 2019 and forward, you're good. There's something else wrong with your fridge, whether it's something simpler, whether it's an ice maker or a water valve or something like that. So this video will probably not help you much. This is going to be too much information for you. So if it was built in January of 2019 and forward, you're good. You don't need to watch this whole video. But if it was built before January 2019, all the way back to 2015, this video may help you out. I am going to have another Samsung ice maker video coming out here shortly too. I got the footage of it. I just need to edit it and everything. I'll have that linked in the description as well. So if this ice maker is not what you're looking at, check out that video if it's down there. I haven't done it yet, so it's either there or it's not there. So just give me a little bit of time. I'm trying to pump out a video a week here, and it's actually kind of tough to keep up with. But anyways, that's besides the point. We're talking about this Samsung ice maker. This video is going to be long. It's going to cover everything if you are having this ice maker issue with your Samsung refrigerator. So if that's what you're here for, stay tuned. Bear with me. I'm going to have some good information for you. Alright folks, this is it. This is this Samsung French door refrigerator with this notorious ice maker issue. One other thing that you may see is that this ice bucket is pretty much stuck. This happens a lot. A lot of the ones, where people get tired of clearing that ice out and everything, it, just fills over and ice just gets everywhere and you cannot get that bucket out. So, the quickest way to get that ice out is get yourself a steamer, and I will have one of these linked in the description down below as well. So if you need one of these, you can do that. For me, I timed it. Whenever I got this thing out of here, I got that ice bucket out in about 15 minutes or so. But you pretty much just put water in that steamer, then you plug it up, wait for that thing to heat up. I have that switch taped down so I can just let that thing ride. And keep in mind, while that thing is melting that ice, it will start to drip. So you might want to put a towel underneath that ice bucket where that ice would normally come out through the door. Put a towel there so you can collect all that water, because a lot's going to come out. And also unplugging that thing will help the whole defrosting process, and you don't really want to work on these things with it plugged up anyways. But while that ice is getting defrosted with that steamer, doing it automatically, it's actually pretty nice. I've only done it twice this way, and it's a lot better than standing there holding that button, tape that thing down. But anyways, this model here needs everything. It needs a new ice maker, needs a new control board, needs a new drain tube, needs the Y clips, and it needs the water line adjusted as well. So in this kit, it's nice. It's just one part number. But unfortunately, it's not one kit for everybody. It all depends what your model is, what the serial number is, and all that stuff. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to tell everybody, which one it needs. I'm thinking about putting a video out for each model number. That's one thing I'm thinking about. So if I have those videos out, you will see that in the description below as well. And if I don't have one, or if I missed a model number or something, let me know, and I'll try and get a video out there of that specific model to tell you guys, what parts you need. Luckily for this customer, they needed the kit, and the kit is a lot cheaper than getting the parts individually. I will say everybody will need the Y clips. Everybody will need a new ice maker. Everybody will need a new drain tube. The most expensive part of all that is going to be that ice maker. And that's the new one. That's the one that does not have the notch in it. The old one does have a notch. The new one will not. So the funnel where the water comes in, it'll be nice and square, nothing knocked out of the way. And yeah, so this is pretty much everything we're putting in. We will also be putting in some silicone, and I'll show you guys that as well. Remember how I said before you want to use food grade silicone? You do, and Samsung has a part for that as well that they recommend you putting in. So we're going to put that on as well. And what I can put in the description below, 4 parts, so you guys can, source them. I will put that down in the description for you. But yeah, that's all the parts we're going to be putting in. And it's been about 4 minutes or so. Going to check it out. So if you guys have a steamer, I got it putting in through the top there. And if you don't have that copper tube like I have, you can stick it in through the bottom where the ice would normally come out. And what I've done before is I pretty much taped it in place and taped the switch and just let it ride. It'll take some time. It could take anywhere from 15, 20, 30 minutes to defrost that ice just to get the ice bucket out. I mean, this is the first thing we got to do. Get to the ice maker. Then we got to do all that work putting in all those parts. But this is that water I was telling you about. Eventually, once it starts warming up that ice box, all that ice in there is going to start to melt, and you're going to want something to catch it. So just make sure you guys got a towel underneath there to catch all that water. And there we're 7, almost 8 minutes in. Here we go, 14 and a half. And she's coming out. So a little bit less than 15 minutes to clear all that ice. Well, it's not all clear, but a little less than 15 minutes to be able to get that ice bucket free. Now, this is what the ice maker looks like after we get the ice bucket out. So we got to clear all that. And the steamer helps with this too. Folks tend to use hair dryers or heat guns to melt that ice, and you don't want to use that, guys. You're just going to cause more damage. You're going to cause, an air leak. You will melt that plastic with a heat gun or a hair dryer. So do not use that. If anything, I don't know, use a putty knife or an ice pick or something like that if you don't want to use this steamer, or the old-fashioned way, just unplugging it, leaving the doors open, and letting it thaw. Do not use a heat gun. Do not use a hair dryer. You're not doing yourself any good if you use that. All right, so most of that ice is gone. I went ahead and fast forwarded it so you guys ain't watching a video for an hour. But yeah, most of that ice is clear. So clean up what you can. There's going to be water everywhere. There's going to be chunks of ice everywhere. Get that stuff out of your way. There's a little bit more ice you're going to have to take care of too whenever you start getting this ice maker off. So clean up what you can. Then we got 2 Phillips head screws. One will be on the ice maker, and the other one will be on that little plastic panel on the left that covers up the wire harnesses. So, yeah, you'll need both of those out so you can get the ice maker out. All it is a Phillips head screw, and then on that panel you just pull it back and she'll come loose. You pull her out, and then that ice maker, the way that this ice maker is built, there's an evaporator coil that runs across the bottom of it. So whenever you are taking this ice maker out, you need to be very careful not to damage that evaporator line. If you damage it, you're throwing away your refrigerator. I've done this. Whenever these things first came out, I was clearing ice at least a few times a week. I've never damaged anything. So as long as you're careful, you're not, prying something out that's, stuck, or you didn't clear enough ice out, and, as long as you're not forcing anything, you should be fine. But you just need to know you can potentially damage your refrigerator getting this ice maker out. So just be careful whenever you're doing it. So, yeah, we're getting more of that ice out so we can spread that ice maker apart. So you got to spread that apart, drop that evaporator line down, and then you should be able to get that ice maker out a little bit. So clear the ice out that you can. This is where a steamer comes in real handy, because you can push, warm, steamy air wherever you need to get rid of some ice. So, yes, once you do clear enough ice, there's that little tab I was just pressing with my thumb there. You press that down, pull the ice maker towards you, and, just wiggle it out. Don't force it. Like I was saying, you got to be careful. Can't stress that enough. And, yeah, harness down there. Yeah, just a little tab holding that harness on, and you just wiggle it out. I do find a little bit more ice that we need to get rid of before we can get this thing out a little bit more. So I'm not going to force it. Going to clear a little bit more out just so it's free enough so you can wiggle that thing out of there. Not much there. We're almost to where the real work begins, or the actual fixing of the ice maker. And I will say, while we're waiting on this, is that this kit that they finally came out with, it's fixing it. I wasn't confident in any of these things whenever I first started with it. Well, I was when I didn't know what was going on, but after I found out, you keep getting callbacks after you silicone it or move the water line or put in the Y-clips. You were still getting calls. I was telling people, I was like, I'm not confident this is going to fix it until I know. But I've put in a handful of these, and it's working. This kit is actually fixing this ice maker. So if you think it's not going to work, I think I haven't been called back on any of these that I put in. But, just to give you guys a better look, you saw that thing, how it hinges. And, that's just where that evaporator coil just runs through. And that's it. Ice maker is out. we still got more ice to clear, because underneath that ice maker, or behind it, you got that auger motor with a fan, because that fan actually circulates that air. So the whole cavity in there is the same temperature rather than just under the ice maker itself, which is the coldest. So yeah, you got to clear that ice around that evaporator, or around that auger motor with that fan. And there's also ice around the, yeah, there's just still ice in there. So this is probably going to be the hardest part of this whole job, is just getting rid of all this ice, or the most tedious, however you want to look at it. So yeah, we are pretty much there though. Once you clear enough around that fan and auger motor, you can actually get that auger motor out of the way, and then there's more ice to get. As well, sometimes you can actually clear everything before that ice maker, or before that auger motor assembly comes out. But just make sure after you clear all that ice, get everything out, just make sure all that ice is gone. But yeah, same type of harness as the ice maker, that push that little tab down, and there's another tab at the center and the bottom. Push that up, pretty much the exact opposite of the ice maker, how you pulled it down. That one you want to pull it up, and that'll free that clip. And if you can start moving that auger motor out of the way, you've cleared enough to actually get that assembly out of there. And that's where the drain tube is connected to. That drain tube is connected onto that auger motor, and we will be replacing that after we do a few more things. But I'm putting my hand where that auger motor fan is, seeing if there's any more ice, and there's some times where there will be more ice there that you'll have to clear. So just make sure you see if there is or not. But if all that ice is gone, just clean everything up, give it a good wipe down. You do want it dry so you can put that silicone where it needs to be. You don't want to put the silicone there with it being wet, so get yourself a towel, wipe everything down, and make sure it's all nice and clean. Once she's nice and clean, what I'm going to start with here is the Y clips and this little diverter thing. Get yourself some needle nose pliers. There's a little plastic piece that wraps around that styrofoam, and the difference is there's a little tapered edge on the top but not the bottom, or it might be vice versa. But anyways, the new one is tapered on both sides. So you just pull it out with the needle nose pliers, and then put the new one back on where it has, you can't get it backwards really, but yeah, tapered on both ends. The old one's not tapered on one end, but anyways, tapered ends go to the outside or towards you, and if you don't have it right, you'll know because it won't fit right. So yeah, you just push that over the styrofoam that's wrapped around the evaporator coil. Then there's these little Y clips that are little metal stainless pieces. They pretty much look like a Y, and they're a clip, so that's why they're called Y clips. But those just go up there just like that. You point them down, clip them to the evaporator coil. Whenever they go into defrost, that's supposed to help clear any ice that builds up in that area. So but next I'm checking to see the position of the water tube. That right there is too far in. You don't want it that far in. You pretty much want it halfway. That right there is fine. You can have it pulled out that much. So if you put a mirror up to it, and you see it like that, that is fine. And if you need to move it, get behind the fridge and I'm trying to push it in with my fingers there, but it's a little tight. You can use some pliers. Needle nose pliers actually works good. Push that gray piece in to pull that gray tube out just a little bit. And what's ideal is anywhere between halfway and back through. So right there is where I like to put it. I like to put it right there, because if it's too close, that water will just go in different places. It wants it to be nice and smooth whenever it goes around. So that's how you move the water line. This is that sealant that Samsung wants us to use, the food grade stuff, and you pretty much just wrap it all the way around where you see a seal. So along the left hand side, bottom, the back bottom, up the side wall in the back, and then up the wall on the front left hand side. Silicone all of those areas to prevent any kind of air leaks. I did one of these where I was putting in all that steam, and I could see steam coming through those cracks. And if you've ever had an air leak in your fridge, it can cause some problems for you. So air leak in that whole cavity will help the situation for sure. I couldn't really get a good video of me actually applying the silicone, but once you get it on there, just use your finger, run it across the seam. Make it, you don't have to make it look good as long as it works. My wife would say something different about that, but I don't care how things look as long as they work, you know what I mean? But yeah, silicone in all those cracks is very important, so make sure you guys do that. After we get that done, we got the auger motor drain tube that we got to replace, and putting the ice maker back in, and then replacing that control board. So I think you guys get this, so let's move on to the drain tube that we need to install on this here auger motor. You just got a zip tie to cut and a Phillips screw that's holding it on. Some of your auger motors actually will have a styrofoam piece covering up that drain tube, and it's kind of tight getting those things off. But find those clips, move that plastic out of the way, and get that styrofoam out of the way. And I've done it both ways, putting the styrofoam back on and taking the styrofoam off of this drain tube, and putting it pretty much back the way that you found it. I hope that makes sense to you. And I've done it to where I've taken the styrofoam off and left it off and just installed it the way that we are installing it here. And I don't have a great view of all of this, so I apologize for that. But this is that zip tie you need to cut. We took that screw out already, and there's this. The wire is routed a certain way, and there is a connection that you gotta remove. Pretty much just like the other connections, just a tab that you push down, pull it apart, and your drain tube's off. And then you just put it back in the opposite way you took it off. Connect the harness, route the wires, put the zip tie pretty much the same place where you found that other zip tie, and then put the screw back in. This is where I was trying to show you the difference in the sizes of the drain tube, but I do get a better angle later. The new one will be bigger than the one that's installed right now. They want to give it more room for that water to actually drain properly. And that's the whole point of all this, is trying to prevent that water from building up. And putting in all these parts, they're working. They really are. Yeah, got that drain tube in place. We're going to put the zip tie in, And just keep in mind where that zip tie comes out, guys. There's not many places where it can go. But once you find it, or once you put it in, got this screw you got to put in. And then you just cut the rest of that zip tie off, and that's pretty much it. You can start putting that back in. And here, shortly, I'm going to show you the differences in the size of the drain tube. I gave you a short little clip of it earlier. It'll be something similar to that. But that's it. New drain tube's in. So after we get this guy in, this auger motor can be a troublemaker putting it back in. You see that tube that goes out the back of it? There's a tube that it needs to line up with. Oh yeah, there's the two different sizes. The one on the right's the old one, it's smaller. The one on the left is new and it's bigger. But that tube in the back, you do have to line it up with the tube that goes through the back. That's that black hole circle back there. One thing too, guys, before you put this auger motor back in, make sure that drain is clear back behind there. There could be ice stuck in it, so if you got that steamer, make sure you steam that hole. But this guy did give me some trouble getting it back in, so if you have to, get yourself another zip tie, move that drain hole, either further away or closer. You can't really tell which way you need to pull it, so you just got to guess. All right, do I pull it away? Do I pull it the other way? You just got to line it up. You can't see, so you're just, trial and error. But yeah, auger motor is in. Now it's time to put in the new ice maker. And it comes open, so you just lift open, line up that evaporator tube. Sometimes you do got to press it down, and this is where you got to be careful. Don't want to stress it too much. Get it down enough to where you can fit that evaporator coil in between that little area there. Just wiggle it back, and once you get it in, you can lift it up, and it hangs from these it's got a little system up there that it hangs on. If you look at the ice maker, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's not too hard to find. You pretty much just push it towards, or pull it towards you, push it up, push it back until you hear a click. When you hear that click, or if that ice maker can't move anymore, it's back all the way. You'll push up that evaporator coil, get that guy up. We'll have some screws to put in with that cover on the left hand side, and also right there. And you do want that thing to clip into place. It's really tough. You'll see me do it here in a few where I push it up with a screwdriver, but you want to have that thing clipped so that water does run backwards. If that's not clipped and your fridge isn't level, perfectly level, water will come forward, and you'll probably have a similar situation that you had before. So make sure that thing's clipped into place, and you'll see what I'm talking about here in a few whenever I do push it up. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Push it up. Clip her into place. That water should flow where it's supposed to flow. Then all we got is this little cover here, and then we get to do the control board in the back. Okay guys, there's 5 models that may not need a new control board. I will list those models. You'll see them on the screen, and it all depends on the date though. Some of them, one's in June of 2016, and the other one's in July of 2016. If they were made before those dates, then you don't need a control board. So all those parts, the ice maker, drain tube, Y-clips, the silicone, moving the water tube, that's all you guys will need to do. You won't need a control board for it. This one here, it came with the ice maker service kit. So if your model needs the service kit, it's whatever is in the service kit. And you know, like I was saying, I'll probably make a video for each model. So these models that you have on the screen right here, there's a chance if it was built before June or July of 2016 that you will not need a control board. So all you will need is those parts. So yeah, for this control board, yeah, I took out those 4 screws to get that panel off. Once you get that panel off, it's a good idea to ground yourself. You know, all you got to do is touch metal, and that'll, you know, release all the static electricity held up in your body. Because you can see how complicated this thing is with all these wires back here. You could fry electronics just by, you know, rubbing your feet on some carpet, touching a control board can destroy it. So just make sure you ground yourself before you mess with these control boards back here. Just touch some metal, and that's all you really need to do. But once you're grounded, you can get off all these connections here, and all it is a tab and pull it. They can be a little stubborn getting it out, but wiggle them out and you'll be fine. And if you're worried about putting these connections in the wrong spot, you can always take a picture, you know, just to make sure everything's put back into the right place. One thing I do is I just forget to put some of these things back on because there's so many of them. And there is a clip down at the bottom. I don't know if you guys saw that. You push that clip down and you can release it from the bottom. It hinges a little bit and then it'll drop. But yeah, what I was saying before, I tend to forget to put on some connections because there's just so many and you just won't see it. So if you get this thing plugged back in, you notice it not working, it's, you know, giving some sort of error code or something, get back here, make sure all those connections are connected. Yeah, because you want this thing to work properly. It's your refrigerator. We need them nowadays. So yeah, just make sure everything's connected, everything's put back right. Yeah, if you're ever in doubt, snap a picture, take a look at it if you're having any issues, and yeah, go from there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this. Once you get this thing back together, get all these connections back on. They are lined up pretty good too, so you'll probably know if you put one in the wrong spot. But get that panel back on, then you can plug it back up. It will take some time for that compressor to turn back on. On these Samsungs, I'm not sure exactly what they do, but they may go through a little self-test or something, because it could take 10 to 15 minutes for that compressor to come on. So just don't be alarmed whenever you first turn it on that this thing ain't powering up on you. Give it some time. It will turn on. But if it don't turn on within 20 minutes or so, try unplugging it, plugging it back in. That's just one thing I've noticed working on these Samsungs is, you know, they take a little bit more time for them to come back on. But anyways, once it's plugged in, you'll see it here in a few. Once I get all this stuff back on, there's a button on your ice maker, which is an ice maker test button. You will hold that button and that ice maker should start to turn. And then whenever that thing turns all the way around at the very end of the cycle, that is whenever it fills with water. And with all this footage that I had doing this job, I was running out of battery and I was running out of time to actually record. And luckily enough, I was able to get the whole fill cycle. So as soon as this ice maker fills up with water, that's it. That's all the video I have. I used all of my card to make this video because it's just so much. As you can see, I mean, it's 35 minutes worth here. You guys have listened to my beautiful voice for 35 minutes. So yeah, that is it for the most part. Again, if you guys have any questions or anything, leave them down below until I can get those videos out of those. Leave me a comment. Give me your model number, give me your serial number, and I'll send you guys some part numbers, or tell you what you need, or I'll have something for you. I won't leave you guys hanging on this one. This is too complicated to no. So you'll just ask me. I'll do what I can for you on it. This here is the ice maker turning. Fast forwarding it a little bit so we're not wasting a bunch of time. But at the very end, you will hear it fill. And that's it. Then after that, you just let her wait. And she should start making some ice for you. And it should go until, something breaks. Likely, it won't be an ice built-up issue anymore. It'll be something else, whether it's your ice maker that's gone out, or the fan, or water valve, or something like that. And once I run into these in the future, I'll put another video out for you if I ever run into it. But that's it for this one, guys. It's a long one. Thanks for bearing with me. But if it has helped, give me a like, subscribe, and I do appreciate y'all watching.